I'm Stuart McIntosh with the BBC News. Hello. The United States has warned Uganda of economic repercussions if a law banning sexual minorities with the threat of long jail terms comes into force. Sweeping legislation passed by Uganda's parliament on Tuesday criminalises anyone merely describing themselves as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender or queer. The White House National Security spokesman John Kirby said Washington was watching the situation closely.
There might be repercussions that we would have to take, perhaps in an economic way, should this law actually get passed and enacted. That would be really unfortunate because so much of the economic assistance that we provide Uganda is health assistance.
Boris Johnson has denied lying to fellow members of Britain's Parliament about pandemic lockdown parties at his official residence when he was Prime Minister. A committee of MPs spent more than 3 hours questioning Mr Johnson on the matter. He acknowledged having misled Parliament but said he hadn't done so deliberately and his office had always tried to follow lockdown restrictions. He said the purpose of the events was to thank his staff.
People who say that we were partying in lockdown simply do not know what they are talking about. People who say that that event was a purely social gathering are quite wrong. My purpose there was to thank staff, to motivate them in what had been a very difficult time and what was also a very difficult day in which the Cabinet Secretary had just resigned.
US stock markets have fallen after the central bank decided to move forward with another rise in interest rates. The key index, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, closed down by 530 points or 1.6%. Shares in banks saw some of the steepest falls. The Fed proceeded with the rise despite fears that the move could add to financial turmoil after a string of bank failures. Here's Michelle Fleury.
The Fed did find itself in this bind. How does it manage this double objective of, on the one hand, trying to contain inflation and bring down prices, whilst at the same time now having to worry about a new headache, and that is stress in the financial markets? And so they made a point of saying, we are raising interest rates. That being said, they didn't raise as much as everyone was expecting a few weeks ago, and they signalled that the rate hike campaign would end sooner than anyone previously thought.
The World Health Organization says the global spread of cholera, particularly in Africa, has worsened since its last assessment in early February. 4 new countries now report cases of the disease: Tanzania, Zambia, Zimbabwe and South Africa, making 24 countries in total. World News from the BBC. The Pakistani opposition leader Imran Khan has accused the country's election commission of violating the constitution by postponing until October elections in Punjab province, which were due to take place next month. And Barasan Etirajan reports.
A coalition led by Mr. Khan's party was in power in Punjab before the legislature was dissolved in January. According to the constitution, a new poll should be held within 90 days of dissolution. Mr. Khan has urged the judiciary to intervene to uphold the constitution. The latest decision by the commission will infuriate Mr. Khan's supporters and is likely to worsen Pakistan's ongoing political instability. The country is also witnessing an economic crisis. With just enough foreign currency reserves to pay for around 2 months of imports, Pakistan is desperately looking for a bailout from the International Monetary Fund to avert an economic meltdown.
US financial regulators have announced fraud charges against the Chinese cryptocurrency entrepreneur Justin Sun. The actress Lindsay Lohan, the YouTuber Jake Paul and 6 other celebrities were fined for having promoted Mr. Sun's assets on social media without disclosing that they were being paid to do so. Ms. Lohan, Mr. Paul and the others paid a total of $400,000 to settle the case. Saudi state media says the foreign minister Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud has agreed to meet his Iranian counterpart soon in the latest thawing of relations between the Middle Eastern powers. Prince Faisal spoke to Hossein Amir Abdullahian in a phone call to mark the start of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. And federal police in Brazil have carried out raids across the country to arrest 9 suspected members of a criminal group which they say planned to attack civil servants and public figures. Police said the group had plotted murders and kidnappings. BBC News.